bin.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no moon.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And I don't want to call it a marathon, but the rewatch continues. We are watching the first 6 films of the Star Wars franchise. I'm also posting about this on TikTok, Kenton. And I don't know if you've seen that some of it also goes over to Instagram stories and well, I know you follow me on TikTok, but not everybody does. So just to let it, and maybe to like draw up some interest in this kind of stuff, I've been like cross-posting it to Instagram and Facebook, and occasionally I'll get people like just chiming in on it. It's kind of cool, actually. It lets me know who sees my Instagram stories and Facebook stories. So I've been talking about these movies as well. And yeah, most people who talk to me agree that that Attack of the Clones is the worst movie. So.
Yeah, I mean that's been a popular line for a while now, but I still don't quite buy it, and I think a lot of the folks are remembering their time seeing it in the theater or whatever, and I don't think that they themselves have done lots of rewatching.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's somebody who only saw it one time in the theater and has fond memories for sure. But anyway, we did watch Revenge of the Sith this week. I actually just finished watching it before we got on today. I actually watched it in 3 sittings this time, not 2.
It's hard to squeeze it in these days because there's so much. Like this was the week because it's American Thanksgiving. Yeah, that everything came out, and I was like, I've got like 100 hours of Beatles documentary to watch, and you're just like, oh, so it's hard. It's hard to squeeze it in, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about Book of Boba Fett that it's almost like I'm watching it like, yeah, I know. Come on, where's the new stuff? Come on, where's the new stuff? Like there's sort of that anxiety too.
I kind of felt that it was actually what you could think about is in terms of these rewatchability of these movies, particular Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, is that last one, Attack of the Clones, is kind of a prequel to the Book of Boba Fett, right? Because it's about Jango and Boba as a kid. And then this one is kind of a prequel to Obi-Wan because it's all about Obi-Wan and Anakin, right? So this is like, if this is a great one to watch to set us up for that. So I might actually rewatch this one ahead of when Obi-Wan comes out, just to kind of get fresh on that whole thing again. Because I forgot, again, I don't know, I forgot how much that is in this movie. That is the whole theme of this movie, really.
I'm so dumb. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about Book of Boba Fett like an idiot. But of course, you're right that this really is the precursor because, as Kathleen Kennedy said, we're going to see the rematch of the century in the Obi-Wan series. So yeah, so like seeing the last time Darth Vader faced off with Obi-Wan and hinting that there's another time that we don't know about, I think that's pretty good.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you want to start with this?
How about at the beginning?
Shall we?
Star Wars war.
What is it good for? Actually, I think I wrote that down. I think I wrote what war? What is it good for?
Did you?
Not opening this movie. I don't remember. I don't know where my notes are. That's okay. I remember what I said.
War. Star Wars followed by the word war. I'm of two minds on that. Which is I kind of like it in a way. Like, yay! Finally, here's the war. But at the same time, it's like Star Wars war. It doesn't really roll off. That crawl does not roll off the tongue.
It's not. Is it? It really is Stars Wars. Like how many stars are? No, never mind. Okay.
Stars Wars war.
Yes, and the other thing about it is that it's also like an exclamation. It's kind of like the dead speak in the Rise of Skywalker. Like you're just beginning with an exclamation like that. I don't know. It doesn't really. It's not. I would not give that a good mark on an assignment.
I'd say you already said war.
It's right. It's repetitive. For sure. All right. That's true. Now I will say though that the opening scene, the battle scene, the space battle is I think one of the best in the franchise. This opening. No, are you shaking your head? I can't tell by your expression.
I'm looking at my first note and it's like good call.
Yes,
good call. Yes.
It's a like opening with a mass, and this is exactly what we wanted when we heard the words Clone Wars. This is what we thought of, right? Just a massive space battle, all kinds of ships everywhere, and it was even bigger than the Return of the Jedi one, which was at that point the biggest one we'd seen, I think. Anyway, so I really love that opening space battle. I think it's great.
And what's different about it too, that I don't think it gets a lot of credit for, is seeing the characters in the spaceship so clearly in space, moving around, and then things happening on the outside of the cruiser and stuff with that little drill droid and all of that stuff. All of that stuff is very, like, you can see the technological advancement
Oh yes.
from Return of the Jedi for sure. It's like it's pretty well done.
Yeah,
Cool.
in fact, I would say overall the strongest part about all these films is that they are like technically excellent. Like they're all, it is the peak of what Hollywood could do at the time, because this is who was doing it, right? This is the best you could do for those types of effects and that kind of stuff. So it does look really, really good, especially the space stuff. And yeah, those, you know, even the back and forth between them as they're talking, the little like witty repartee they have, and that was better this time around than it was in the last movie, I thought.
Yeah.
And so that was good as well. But then it kind of gets into the rescue of the Chancellor and that whole thing. And I'm not a huge fan of that aspect of it. Like, I don't think Dooku is the greatest. Dooku is not the greatest villain in the first place. And the way that all plays out, I was not thrilled with that, as far as like, kill him, get him, or whatever. And then he just does that. I mean, come on.
They kind of just throw us into it, which could be okay, but you're right. It just doesn't, it looks weird the way it, like, without seeing how it got that way, how they got there, it just seems a little odd. Like,
right.
Here we are. Look what happened.
And I guess that we're supposed to see that take place in the animated series, right? Is that what that's meant to be? Is that like, because this takes place, the animated, well, no, the animated series takes place between the the second and third movies in this franchise, right? That's when when Anakin and Obi-Wan are out fighting the Clone Wars, right? So that's when this, and during that time he's supposed to be pulled closer and closer to Palpatine, and it does, not just at that point in the film, the entire film. Well, not the entire film. The first half of the film doesn't match up with the second half of the film, right? So we'll get to that. I think I'm going to hang over ourselves, but that's the problem, is that they don't spend enough time convincing us that Anakin is really turning to the dark side, because it happens too quickly. It honestly does. It just
I don't think he should be dubbed Darth Vader until
he gets a suit on
the table. Yeah, right. It just it's I don't know why that decision got made. Even I did like it's just, well,
because Darth doesn't mean the suit. Like Darth Maul was a Darth. Darth Sidious is a Darth.
Right.
So it's really like the Darth part comes with the Sith Lord thing, not the suit. Right.
That's true. But still.
It still happens too fast. Yeah. I mean, and really what it looks like is that Palpatine just lured him in with advancement, promise of like, immortality apparently. But he's like, they're not promoting you, like that whole thing seems false. The way he turns, I'm using quote marks here, Anakin against the Jedi and vice versa, is all so fabricated. Like, who couldn't see through that bullshit, right? It just seems like, in the audience, I think the audience picks up on that as well.
Yeah, even when the Jedi Knights come to confront him, what should be a battle for the ages is kind of like, he kind of treats them all like biatches. He kind of just throws them around. And even Samuel L. Jackson has him by the balls at a certain point, and can't finish the job. And that too just seems it doesn't play out realistically at all.
Well, you think about that, the scene at the beginning when he's holding he's got the two lightsabers on Dooku's throat, and he slices off his head, and then you've got Mace Windu in the same situation, and there's Anakin saying, "Don't do it, don't kill him." Meanwhile, he killed Dooku. Like, come on, man, hypocrite much? So that stuff does not track at all. You're right. So that is an issue. But I will say, having watched it again recently, that your theory of Mace Windu coming back has never been stronger. I think it's true. I think you have to be right about it. There's no way we don't see him die. Like, there's nothing. We see his arm get cut off. Big deal. Nothing. That's like a scratch for the Jedi. And he gets flung out the window and off into the distance. He's still alive.
He'll land on his feet, for God's sake, probably.
Yes. Or he'll land on in the middle of like a car. Like, I'm surprised he didn't just land in a car and turn around and come right back to the Jedi Temple or wherever the hell they were to finish it off. So
like that that actually would have been an interesting plot twist. Is like, he didn't die. He's like waiting for you some other place. Would be interesting, because he is one of the most powerful Jedi.
Supposed to be.
And a battle
gets his ass handed to him really easily, I gotta say.
Yeah,
like,
that was too much. But him, Yoda and Obi-Wan all fighting the Emperor together could have been a pretty cool thing.
Would have been
to
better than
see.
just the Emperor and Yoda, because I don't like
Yeah.
that fight either.
It's a
It
little
just
too CGI.
it is too CGI, yeah, and that is kind of the main issue with. As much as we say, it's great for its time. It was of its time,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't tell it's CGI for most of this stuff. So it just they have to kind of parse it out a little bit more. And I think that having that much, it was basically two CGI characters because the Emperor is like his face is the only part of him that looks human, so it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we're jumping all over the place, but that's fine. I just think that I guess overall I just focused more on the negative side of this. It like the acting is still horrible. It really is. Even like at the back, you're breaking my heart, Anna. Like come on, she's not. That's not a great performance. Natalie Portman, you almost won an Oscar or did win an Oscar. I still can't remember if she did or not. But
there's things that they've added though that help with that. Like there's that sort of like that noise, the in the background. All the there's like more tension in the air just in general, which I think works a little bit better than Attack of the Clones, which is just like the romp and the hay and all that stuff. But you mentioned this being a precursor to the Obi-Wan series, and I think like Obi-Wan comes out pretty well from this movie. Like he's got some great, like I love it when he says well, we sort of ripped apart that battle, but I like it when he says Sith Lords are our speciality. I like that. They're our speciality.
Oh,
that cracks me up.
One of the most memeable moments in the entire franchise is "Hello there." That is like the line. Everyone loves that, and it's great. And that's a great scene when he takes on Grievous and all that stuff. That was awesome. Like that kind of stuff is great.
He's got some sarcasm too. Anakin's the father. I'm so sorry. I'm throwing a little sarcasm on it, but I love that. And I love his battle stance.
Yeah.
The whatever the peace sign goes I don't know. I can't remember how it goes.
Ewan McGregor was excellent with all that stuff, and I even love the little flares he does, the little like flips of the lightsaber he does just to loosen up a bit more, like to get into it. Like he's always been excellent with all that stuff. So I think that again, I'm looking forward to seeing that again when Obi-Wan comes out.
Did you see our friend Pablo Hidalgo in the scene?
Yes.
And you know what? That's actually that's one of the best non-battle scenes, I think, in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's nicely paced. It's a good story. Like it's interesting to hear that story and to hear this whole thing is a good. Again, okay, so what should happen? We always do this, like what should have done better. But really, when you think about it, like that scene, what we should do is break from that scene and go 6 months later or something like that, right? Because that scene shows the beginning of the Emperor bringing Anakin over, right? But it just happens too quickly after that. It's like boom, 2 days later, 2 days later, and he's fucking killing kids in the Jedi Temple, right? Like that doesn't make sense to me. So if we just put a little transition 6 months later, and then they're all buddy, and then we have also just an incident in which he like has a fight with Obi-Wan and something really bad happens. That means something, not whatever the hell he was mad at because he thinks like Obi-Wan's sleeping with Padme or something stupid like that. Like that's ridiculous. But I guess the point of that is to show how crazy he is with the dark side of the Force. Is that what that is?
I think,
crazy with jealousy, but crazy with the dark side.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, plus he spent the whole day murdering people, basically all day long.
But at least he shut the door first. Murders them, and the more I see that kind of stuff, the more I realize that Darth Vader was just the Emperor's hitman. That's all he was. Is his muscle.
Yeah. Right? Well, I mean, hey, we might learn more about that in the Obi-Wan series about what that's all about. But that's a great. I like the fix that you came up with there because remember Solo does the 1 year later or whatever. Solo does a time jump and actually puts a time to it. So you could actually do that. That's a great idea. Or even, like there's a couple places in Sith where you could do that.
Yeah. No, I just kind of arbitrarily picked that place because that seemed like the beginning of that. I mean, no, I know that we see him grooming him from a young age, the creepy scenes in the early movies, but that really, it really is in this film that I honestly don't feel that there's much indication. Well, I guess they have the sand people scene. I guess that's what that's supposed to be in that film. That he's turning to the dark side. That was what that was about, right? He's, I don't know. It just still seems to happen too fast. right?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I do, and actually I have a guilty pleasure in the movie. I like the dead Jedi montage. Like the dead actor montage from the Academy Awards,
Yes.
except it's Jedi and they're all just getting shot one after another, because I like the planets. Whatever those planets are, I'm like, please, like, can we go back to one of those, like the big flower planet and the planet?
You're right. They should just be mining that for new settings for shows and stuff, hey?
I just like, I have always liked that scene, and there's like, not because the Jedi are dying, because I actually want I want all of those Jedi to live, but I like the environments in those scenes, and that was like one of the first sort of wider looks at other things in the galaxy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like the promise of stuff we see in the dead Jedi scene.
It's also a scene that works. It shocks us because we see them fighting side by side with the clones, and then all of a sudden the clones turn around and shoot the Jedi. That is a shock. I think it's even more shocking than seeing Anakin. I mean, we don't see anything in that scene when Anakin walks in. All he does is turn on his lightsaber, and the kid starts a bit, but that's it. And then he shuts the door, and then we assume he kills everybody, but we never see what happens there. So to me, the other thing is better. It works better for sure.
Do we see him shut the door? Does it?
I don't know. Maybe I'm mixing it up with the other one. He goes to the other guys. He goes to the Trade Federation guys, the offensive, stereotypical guys, and he shuts the door there. He doesn't do it with the kids.
I thought we see him kill those guys. No, am I wrong?
No, we don't. We don't see him actually kill anybody.
God,
we see for the kids. He walks in, Mr. Skywalker. What do we do? It's like they got the kid who played Oliver Twist to do that. And then he's like, and then he just sits there. And there's also a lot of standing around looking at people, like in the middle of that lava scene when they're fighting each other and floating on these platforms. They just stop and look at each other for a good couple of minutes. Like,
there's a lot of looking.
What are you doing? Okay, you guys gonna keep fighting or what?
Take a picture, it'll last longer.
So yeah, we say it's the best film of this trilogy, and it is, but that's not saying it's a great film overall. It's a good film, I would say.
And I think just like the Dead Jedi scene shows seeds of places that would be interesting to know more about, I actually thought I like the scene where you see Yoda and Obi-Wan fighting together briefly.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
the clone troopers.
Yes, when Yoda throws his saber in, and then that's so cool.
That's a cool scene, and it just like, why can't we just have a little more of that?
They split up right away. Like they just go, you go here, I'll go there, and then come on, stay together. Meanwhile, then like 2 minutes later, there's a conversation. Oh no, they just had the conversation. You're not strong enough to face it by yourself. I don't remember what happened. But anyway, then I just ended up that the Emperor and Yoda just started throwing frisbees at each other, whatever those round things are.
Yeah.
In the Senate. Like, come on.
Yeah. Catch.
Like, I don't know. That got a little bit ridiculous. So, and then by the time we get to the point after, like, he becomes Darth Vader and goes, no, I'm just so checked out at that point. I just don't care about anything else. And like, I know what happens next, but as far as I'm concerned, the movie ends at that point.
Yeah, that's true. They probably could have ended it there.
Because we know all the, it was not, but I will say this, as somebody, again, thinking back to the experience in the theater, it was good to see all those things play out on screen. Like all those things that happen, Luke going here to Tatooine, Leia going to Alderaan.
Jimmy Smith.
She's going to Jimmy Smith's, who I think, honestly, he was funny in this. There's a scene where he like jumps into a car. He like stumbles. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Like, Jimmy, come on. How many car hoods have you jumped across on NYPD Blue? Can you not get this right?
That's because he's taken aback by everything that's happening. So he stumbles in. Yeah. That's funny. And I like the idea, like Leia, you had the choice between Jimmy Smits and Dennis Franz. It could have gone either way.
She didn't want to go with Sipowicz. Even as a baby, she knew Sipowicz was the wrong choice.
But Jimmy Smits calls attention to himself in the film, and I don't know if it's because he's Jimmy Smits.
Oh yeah,
because he seems like he's from some other thing.
He's also wearing like a big purple outfit, isn't he, or something like that? Like his outfit is pretty attention grabbing. But it is because he's also Jimmy Smith. Anytime they put, and then maybe this is happening less because we're used to it now, but at that time, certainly we were not used to seeing any famous people who weren't already famous, like for being in Star Wars, right? So when this latest trilogy came along and we had, Adam Driver and Oscar Isaac and well-known actors in this, it was kind of weird at first, but now I'm kind of used to it. And now like we have everybody in Hollywood showing up in every freaking episode of The Mandalorian.
Could be anybody, right?
Right. You never know who's going to be. Jimmy Smith might be back for all we know. Or Dennis France.
Yeah.
Let's get Dennis France on Book of Boba Fett.
You probably could get him.
I don't think he's doing much these days.
Or is he dead?
I don't think he's dead. I don't know. I feel bad if he's dead. He's not that old, is he?
Gosh. He must be up there. He's at least 10 to 15 years older than me, so he's old.
Oh, okay. That's how you do it.
I'm a broken man, so what must he be like?
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh my god. By the way, I like Anakin's extra crispy costume where he's smoking there at the side of the cliff.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Like I still feel that when you see him. It's so horrible when he's trying to climb up and he's like, bleh.
Yeah, that's awful. But the way he got there is bad. Like the way it's just like a flip and he's like, boom, and he's down. And like, come on, can we not have had something better happen? Because again, the high ground people have called that out for me. It's like the high ground thing is like the size of the door that Rose is on in Titanic. It's like that logic that they present this logic in the movie, but we all know it's bullshit.
It is
right?
bullshit. Yeah.
Because what is he trying to do? He's trying to flip over him, and come on, he just has to kind of jump onto the shore and like run up the hill. What's wrong with that?
I don't think that would have played out that way, but there's a problem, and the problem is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. if you start taking them apart limb to limb, then you're just going to get 10,000 memes online about 'tis a flesh wound or I've had worse or whatever. And I'm
surprised it doesn't exist already, given what he looks like after that shot.
Right, it's a flesh. Come back here, I'll bite your kneecaps off. Like all of that stuff that goes down in Holy Grail. I remember watching it thinking like, yeah, they had to do something to make sure it wasn't that, to make sure that we didn't go down that road, because clearly George Lucas has already he's established like the mechanical, he's more machine than man, et cetera, et cetera. So we know all that. So you have to turn him into more machine than man. And so you're gonna have to do something, but yeah, like I mean, he does burn in the lava too. They really do a lot to him in that last
but
scene.
Nothing else before that. Oh, he's got the scar in his face for this movie too.
It would have been more humane for Obi-Wan to just put a lightsaber through his head, probably at that point.
Well, and yeah, he just left him too. That's
actually the cruelest thing.
That's horrible. You leave him to die on the side of a lava river? Come on.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah, that's awful.
They should have had a scene where they're like, did he die? And he was like, let's just say when I left him, he was smoking or something. Or if he had a funny quip about the way he left him, because it just doesn't, like, he should have, all things being equal, it would have been compassion to put him out of his misery, because you warned him, you told him what was going to happen. He did it anyway. Now he's burning in the lava, and then he probably should have just gone, oh, I warned you, Anakin, and like put a lightsaber through his head.
Yeah.
That's probably how it would have ultimately played out.
Right.
But you have to have him survive, so you have to have the weird thing where he leaves them.
Well, no, they could have done something else and have him like appear to die, and Obi-Wan assumes he's dead. Like he falls into a lava pit, but there's a rock outcropping that catches him or something like that. Like it's not difficult to do that.
Yeah.
And they've done it before. So yeah, they definitely could have done something different there. But I think they wanted to show that, that Obi-Wan truly was the person that took everything from him. So there is, and that, again, we're going to see that play out and I think it'll be much better this time around in the Obi-Wan series. We're going to see, like Obi-Wan took everything from him in his mind. Again, he's crazed with power or whatever, but in his mind, Obi-Wan took away Padme. He took away his arms and legs or whatever, like everything. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with his face, because they got to show his face, right?
Right.
In the new series. So what are they going to do with that? And what are they going to do about his voice? Because they're going to basically just have, are they just going to Darth Vaderize his real they could probably do that.
I don't think they're going to do that. I think the machine is responsible for his voice sounding that way, I think you could say. And we'll see flashbacks with him I think we'll see that, and we'll probably get some gross shots of him in the back to tank again. If it looks like Obi-Wan's going to track him down at the castle, and which is super cool. But we know he's got the back to tank there. There could be some interesting stuff that goes down there.
Yeah, because we saw in Rogue One, we saw a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And we saw that he still has his sense of humor because of the choke on your aspirations joke that he thought was hilarious. So
he's still cracking wise. So maybe he'll have saved a few good zingers for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
What I wonder, here's what I think they might try to do. I'm just going to put this theory out there that they're going to, well, no, I don't know. Because, the problem is we know how Darth Vader dies. We know his endpoint as a character, right? And so nothing they can do can mess with that.
No.
So he cannot, like I was going to say, it'd be great if they could get him back, like, together and have that some back and forth like they used to have or something along those lines. But it would really be difficult for Darth Vader to be good and then go back to the dark side again. It was so hard for him to come back from the dark side. The only time he did it, that can't happen. So Darth Vader, he will have to be evil in this. And
he has to get away again. There has to be some way for that to all go down too, or Obi-Wan has to get away again.
But he has to do it in a way that doesn't figure out that Luke's on Tatooine, right? So he does this while still keeping the secret of the twins safe,
right?
To the first movie,
right? It's interesting, and of course, because Darth Vader said, "When I left you, I was but a learner, but now I'm a master," and Obi-Wan says, "Only a master of evil, Darth," and so in this one, Obi-Wan's going to kick his ass left and right. I think we can assume.
Yeah.
For that to hold up.
Well, he's still a learner, you're saying, at this point, right? So this will be pre-Rogue One. You think it'll be pre-Rogue One?
I got to think of how that all fits together.
Rogue One is about 10 years after.
Yeah, it has to be.
Rogue One is 20. It has to be before, because Rogue One is just before New Hope. Sorry, I meant pre-Solo. Do you think it's?
Now I got to think about that one.
Solo's like 10 years out, right? So I guess it doesn't really matter because Solo isn't involved in this at all. But
I think if it's possible that we could see Solo in either one, in this or Andor.
Yeah. With, they could age up. What's his name?
What is his name again? I can't think of it. Alden Ehrenreich.
That's right. Yes.
Which sounds a lot like Hayden Christensen.
It does. Yeah. It's very same amount of syllables. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there could be. I don't think so. I think Book of Boba Fett is more likely.
Yeah.
No.
Agree.
Pardon me.
Andor. It's too many series.
Right. Andor. Sorry. When I said Book of Boba Fett, I was thinking about it's post Return of the Jedi. You could have, in theory, a Han Solo walking around.
Oh yeah.
But that would have to be a Harrison Ford Han Solo. And it wouldn't line up. It's
kind of difficult to parse this, right? Because it's like they've got, young, they youthified Mark Hamill to be young. So they don't, everybody pointed out Sebastian Stan is right there and could play a young Luke, right? They could have gone that route. They didn't. They brought back Mark Hamill. But I think it's probably because Mark Hamill wants to do it and Harrison Ford does not. I think that was and they could not have done Solo with Harrison Ford because it's just too much for an older actor.
Did I mention to you that there's a biopic about Celine Dion coming out, but they don't call her Celine Dion, they call her Aline Diu. And it's apparently the woman who plays her and she's a grown woman in her 40s, and she plays Celine at age 5 apparently through CGI. And the New York Times has a review saying it is the creepiest goddamn thing like you have ever seen in your like you are not going to get. And they said that they saw it at the Cannes Film Festival, and the crowd couldn't stop talking about it and laughing.
Oh my God!
So the first thing is I need to see this movie called Aline because it sounds like it's just ridiculous. But that opens up the idea that Harrison Ford could play Han Solo at age 5. And
I guess so. Come on, it's ridiculous.
Some creepy photography CGI.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So maybe Mark Hamill will play Luke as Obi-Wan overlooks him at age 9. Yeah.
The other possibility that this kind of, to stay on the Obi-Wan train, it comes up at the end, and the only real interesting part at the end is when Yoda mentions to Obi-Wan that he's been in touch with Qui-Gon, and the Qui-Gon, right? That part, they have to explore that in some way.
Come
in this
on.
series. You can't ignore that. And yeah, you're right. If we don't get a Liam Neeson cameo, at least his voice or something, like, come on, we gotta have something.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we didn't see him at the end of Sith. Actually,
Yes,
I think that scene. I remember when it happened in the theater, and he said, "I've been talking to Qui-Gon," and the crowd's like, "Oh, we're gonna see Qui-Gon. This is gonna be amazing." And then we didn't.
Yeah.
And it was like called attention to itself as a bait and switch.
Like, why not just have him appear? Surprise!
Yes.
Like,
yes,
you know,
he'll do it. He'd do that scene. I mean, come on. What prevented that? And in fact, I think they even shot it, if I'm not mistaken.
they did. Yeah, you're right. It's a extra thing on a DVD or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you actually see it?
I don't know. I don't remember. I'll look it up. I'll figure it out. Yeah. But yeah, that's right. They did shoot it.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, let me tell you about something cool I saw. And that's how the movie ends. Oh my God.
Anyway, so we got to give this a rating. What do you think?
Yeah.
I guess I'll give it a 3 out of. Wait, what are we doing out of 5 or out of 10?
5 out of 5.
5. So I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
This is a tough one. Oh, so you're still you have this rank still as good, but not better than good. I think originally when we watched it, I think I rated it quite highly. You know what? I still say it's a very watchable film for whatever its flaws are. I get enjoyment out of watching it. It goes by quickly, even though it's a long movie. It always goes by quickly, and the other ones don't necessarily. Like those first two, there's draggy moments.
There's draggy moments in this one too. Like, that's when I turned it off.
It wasn't so bad. Like,
no, it's not as bad. You're right, but there are a few, and I would say that if you can, like, it's actually not bad if you split it in half. So you watch that first half and then take a break and come back. I started it at the point right before he kills all the kids. So that's the moment when he fully turns to the dark side. So if you look at that part playing out and just imagine it took place 6 months after that first half of the movie, then it seems more plausible that he could turn, like, because honestly, it's like on a dime. He's saying one thing to Padme, and then the next thing he's lying to her. It's like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, I don't understand any of that. So that's the major flaw of this film, is that it's the one thing that it's trying to do well, it does not do well. And that is convince us that he's really turning to the dark side.
Interesting. I think I have to give this film, so it would be a B+ is 3.5 stars, right?
Sure.
I think it's a very watchable film, and I enjoy it every time I watch it. But you're right about that stuff, about the other stuff. So I can't give it an A, but I give it a B+, 3.5 stars.
All right, there you go.
And yours is a 3 stars.
3 stars.
A C.
That sounds right to me.
Right? Wait a sec, is that wrong?
I don't know. C+ maybe. I don't know how that. I do it in 10s. We have to give it a grade out of 10 for me to know.
Yeah, you're right. A 4 out of 5 makes it an 80%. So I can't.
No, it would be a 6 out of. For me, it would be a C. 6 out of 10 is a C, right?
Right. But because we're only dealing on a 5-star scale.
Oh yes, of course.
Right.
So I don't mark assignments out of 5.
So I give it. That's right. You can't do it. So I'm just completing the math here. 3.5 stars it is.
All right, there we go. All right. Next up is good. Your favorite movie.
Yes, maybe of all time.
Of all time, but certainly your favorite movie, the Star Wars franchise, which is the original film. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited because this is actually going to get into. These are like the real favorites of mine.
Oh yeah, this is
Star Wars.
Yes, that's right. You can't go right. It's like I was watching the Beatles doc, and I was like, it doesn't matter. You can listen to all the music in the world. You come back to the Beatles, and you're like, there you go. That's all you need. And same thing with movies. It's like you can watch 10,000 movies. You watch A New Hope, and you're like, yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
That one touches
really
hits all the magical points.
One thing I want to mention before we go is that we are starting to get into the festive season. Today we're actually recording this on Black Friday, which is in the U.S. the starting of the Christmas season. And one thing we're going to see, and we're already seeing some of it, and I'm posting some of this stuff on Instagram, and maybe you could too if you see stuff. It's just interesting and funny Star Wars products that you come across. And I found a inflatable Baby Yoda lawn decoration, I guess it is. It was on top of another display in Walmart where I saw it. So I put that on Instagram. So I was just going to say, if you come across anything like that, you don't have to post it, but let me know about it in the podcast. We'll talk about it every week as we go through this and see any new Star Wars stuff.
I barely do any shopping anymore.
Okay.
Because of the lockdown, and it's not really a lockdown anymore, but it's still inconvenient. So
yeah, you know, I just realized I will do this before Christmas. I should go through and find the Star Wars gift guide. I'll see if they publish it yet. They might not have done it yet. They might wait till December 1st, because Star Wars usually, like StarWars.com usually puts out here are the great Star Wars gifts, right? And that's usually pretty funny.
Yes.
So I'll look for that and we'll talk about that.
Great idea.
All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?